Solidarity protests outside prisons in the West Bank were greeted with bullets and tear gas from US-backed IDF soldiers. Well, one of Zionism's great critics joins me now. Professor Shlomo Sand, author of the 2009 book The Invention of the Jewish People, has a new work out in English, The Invention of the Land of Israel, From Holy Land to Homeland. His enemies have sent him death threats over the book and told him that he will not live much longer. Professor Sand, Shlomo, thank you very much for coming on Double Standards. First of all, let's get straight to the death threats.
Yeah, you see, there are crazy people. A lot of people don't like me, but you have to know that there are also other letters, very nice letters, even from Israelis, that praise me because the courage to write this book.
Well, let's start with the dedication to Al-Sheikh Moanis, the people of this village.
Yeah.
Why have you...
Why this village? Because, you see, I'm working in Tel Aviv University. I'm a professor of history in Tel Aviv University. In Tel Aviv University is built on the land of this village that disappeared on the 30th of March 1948. Now, it was a friendly village. It wasn't against the Zionist colonization. I'm speaking till 48. And the university is built on this land, and also my apartment in the same area, in the same neighborhood. Then I think that to write about the land of Israel, the myth of the land of Israel, I'm obliged also to confront myself with the fact that I'm walking in a place that there is any sign of it, that this village existed.
The previous book was against an idea of a Jewish people. This one's against the idea of a homeland from the Mediterranean to the River Jordan.
After the first book, I was attacked that I tried to, to cut the affinity between Jews and the land of Israel. And I tried to show in this book that the Holy Land, I mean Palestine, Judea, was never the homeland for the Jews. Because you have to understand that Muslims has not a homeland, Christians have not a homeland, Jews have not a homeland.
Well, since you're in London, I've got to bring up the name of Simon Sharma, the BBC's favourite historian, who said about your previous book, you just don't get it when it comes to Jews. You don't understand about the shared experience.
Yeah. Simon Sharma, that amazed me in a lot of his books. You have to know, he wrote a book that the title was Rothschild in the Land of Israel. In the time that he's speaking, everybody called it Palestine, not the land of Israel, but he insists. Now, he attacked me that I try to cut all the relationship between Jews in the land of Israel. This is one of the reasons that I wrote a book, to show they have a lot of relationship to this land, but not as a homeland, but as a holy land.
Let's talk about the horrific event in your past, which you talk about in your new book, a murder.
A few events in this war. I started the book with this war because it changed completely. I mean, there is a continuation, Zionist colonization, but it also, something happened in 67. And for me personally, you have to know, I participate in the war in Jerusalem. I am one of that you can blame.
Well, it's horrifying to read about the dumping of a Palestinian body in a river.
Yeah, you see, I participate. I was assisted in a murder, a Balan murder after the war. I was a young soldier, so afraid of my colleagues, by the way. We have guns in hands. And evening of Friday night, I saw, the first time and the last time in my life, how friends of mine can torture an old Palestinian in finishing by killing him. And I think this is one of the turning point in my life in face of all the collective situation that we are living. I couldn't forget it, and this is the reason I decided to put forward in the beginning of this book, this short story of mine in face of the war of 67.
You're also critical of Americans, not just Zionists, especially over immigration.
No, first of all, if you want to know the real date of the establishment of the Israeli society, Israeli state, is 1924, when the Americans decided to put forward, to fix laws, anti-immigrant laws. And I think the reason that Jews started to come to Palestine was because of these laws that closed the gates of United States before Jews. If not, most of us in Israel was today between New York, in San Francisco, like Woody Allen. In 24 it was closed till 48. And this is the reason that, you know, the refugees from the Russian Empire and after the refugees from the Nazi Germany hadn't a place to go. The Jewish didn't want to go there. They were obliged to go, most of them, like the Russians.
And you say that Eastern European Jews weren't even descendants of the people of Canaan or the area between the Mediterranean and the River Jordan.
Most of the Jewish community are converted community. You see, in the first book, this was a scandal. I was educated about exile. The Jews were exiled from Judea by the Romans in the first century. This is a myth. If you can say even a lie, because there is not even one book that is speaking of the act of the exile of the Romans. The Jews were not expelled from Palestine, and they didn't want to go back to Palestine. It was a very, very important place for them as a holy place. But Mecca is also a very important place for the Muslims. And the Ganges is a very important place for the Hindus. You have to understand, and people don't mix it because of the nationalist modernity thinking that it was a homeland. The Promised Land wasn't a homeland for the Jew. In, you know, Zionism, in some way I can say, is one of the modern movement, a very anti-Jewish movement, because Judaism couldn't accept a nation state that will be called Jewish state. Then Judaism is not Zionism, and Zionism is not Judaism. And by the way, all the establishment of the Judaism in the end of the 19th century, the beginning of the 20th century, were anti-Zionist. It was clear for them till the Second World War. Then I try to show it in my book about Americans, if you know, the fact that they closed the gate in 24. Until now, if you want, our power, Israeli power, is not only the power of the Israeli society. We are backed by Americans with everything that we are doing. You see, the fact that we are occupied 45 years, we are occupying a population without any civic or political right. For me, it's impossible the Western world accept it and start and continue to accept.
Well, we're running out of time, but I think a lot of anti-Zionists will agree with what you're saying. They won't agree, though, with your views about the right of return of Palestinians.
My historical analysis is very radical. I don't accept any of the Zionist myth. Politically, you know, the world of politics is a lot of compromise. You cannot propose one of the most racist society in the Western world, I'm speaking about Israel, to live together today in a state that they will become very quickly a minority. It's not possible. Why I am from the solution of two states? Because to oblige Israel to go out from the occupied territory, it's possible. To oblige them to live in one state, it's not possible. You have to look to their consensus, you understand?
We'll get lots of mail about that, Professor Shlomo Sand, I know that. Well, let's hope it's another bestseller, and let's hope the death threats against you stop. Thank you very much for coming on Double Standards.
Thank you very much.